Happy lunch hour, guys. All right, still Tuesday, and yes, I'm back in the house just waiting for the temperature to get warm enough so I can go out and start pouring concrete. But let's get into this. First, I want to start by thanking those of you who have donated to the food/toy drive here. So these are the donations that came in the last 24-ish hours. So Sherry W., Jermaine C., Philip F., Melody P., Elaine D., Gidget R., Anthony Z., Matt C., Devin M., David S., James B., Sherry D., Jim H., Kenneth S., Sarah B., Josh M., Colleen P., Lori W., James W., Joe N., and Amy M. So to all of you, thank you. We are still doing this. Guys, if you have the ability to contribute, the Cash App link is below. For those of you guys that sent stuff in the mail, like I said, I've talked to the food bank and I've talked to the toy drive, did that yesterday, and both of them, we need to have everything over to them on Monday. So everything, any donations hopefully show up by Friday. I'll go check Saturday morning's mail, do whatever. Hopefully if they're here Saturday morning too. If anything comes in after those times, guys, I think what I'm going to do, any donations that you have, is any excess after that we'll give to the animal shelter. I think that's a good place to go too. So another one of my charities that I like to support. So, okay, so thank you to all of you guys for that. Now, I want to talk about something here that you guys need to pay attention to. And I'm going to start by saying this is going on in Germany. All right, so not here yet, but I'm going to say watch what happens in Europe, and it eventually comes here. This starts to get a little worrisome, and you know how big of a proponent I am on generators or whatever. Okay, now solar generators, dual fuel generators, gasoline generators, diesel generators, whatever possible. But if you have the ability to get one of any of those kinds, please do so. Story out this morning. German companies scramble to buy generators amid grid collapse fears. Okay? You have medium and large companies in Germany that are now trying to buy generators and can't get them. All right? This is how bad it is. Quote, the waiting times for units is currently 6 to 12 months. Now, if you run a business and you have no power, your business, you can't wait 6 to 12 months and say, hey, you know what, everybody take a year's vacation. We'll try again next year. You're out of business, okay? When you get into how bad this is for the people in Germany, okay, the head of the Federal Office for Civil Protection, okay, in Germany, a gentleman by the name of Ralph Tiesler, okay, this is his comment on this. It's basically saying that people need to assume that rolling blackouts are going to occur. His quote, the risk of this increases from January and February. We assume that from then on there will be interruptions to the power supply for a period of time. He's talking about Germany's fear of running out of gas by the end of February. It's still cold in March in Germany. Now again, this is Germany. This is not the United States. This is not Canada, okay? But if you're in Europe, I'd be concerned about this across the board. Now, if you're in the US, if you're in Canada, maybe not so much concerned yet. What about next winter? Because again, if they're talking 6 to 12 months out there, there's going to be a backlog like crazy. Rolls-Royce, okay, we all know who Rolls-Royce is. And besides making these ridiculously expensive luxury cars, Rolls-Royce makes a lot of other things. You ever looked at who makes the engines on the planes you're on? There's 50-50 chance it's a Rolls-Royce engine that's on a plane, okay? Rolls-Royce also makes generators. How about this one? Rolls-Royce is already sold out of their 2023 supply of generators. They've already got orders for everything they are going to make all next year. Okay? We could see a shortage come up pretty soon. Just giving you guys a heads up. Remember last year, all of a sudden there was, especially you guys in Texas, all of a sudden there weren't generators anywhere to be found. You couldn't get one. My advice, get something. Small one, medium one, big one, whatever you can afford, okay? Get something, because you're always going to go get another one too, all right? Backups to backups to backups. We know how that works. You got a gas generator, get a solar generator. You got a small solar generator, you're going to go get a big one, because you can always expand on what you're trying to do. Just saying. The other thing that comes into play with this, and it's interesting, Mrs. P and I were just talking about it, is kind of going back to the way things were 100 years ago, okay? A lot of talk about going back to the way things were 100 years ago in a lot of respects. But this is one that we kind of make fun at a little bit, but it may start turning into being reality. You know, all the comments of, oh, your millennial kid living down in the basement or whatever it is, that may start to become more and more reality. This year, for certainly in Europe, but who knows how close it comes to those of us in North America. Because if you think about it, you got lights on in a house right now. You got your heat on in a house, chances are. If you live in 90% of the United States, it's probably cold, okay? So you've got your heat on. It doesn't make a whole difference, not a penny's difference, if you're heating the house, whether it's just me and Mrs. P, for example, or if it's me, Mrs. P, and my daughter. My daughter would be warm too, okay? You also think about the affordability. If now you have 3 people earning income versus 2 people earning income, now the bills, if you will, go down as a whole. We could start seeing a lot more of the generations living in a single household. And this is why I say go back to 100 years ago. Maybe you guys had this happen in your family. I know for my family, it was generations in a household. Not anymore. I mean, my brother's got his own place. My folks have their own place. I have my own place, obviously. Okay. But there was time where my grandfather lived with my parents and me and my brother, okay? I go back to Mrs. P. Mrs. P lived with her grandmother, her parents, and herself in the house up until her grandmother and her parents died, okay? And then Mrs. P had the apartment in Moscow. Why? Because it was more affordable that way. When you're talking about anything, heat, light, food, whatever it would be. You know, sure, you've got to feed three mouths instead of 2, but think about cooking it. Instead of 2 separate stoves working or 2 separate ovens working to cook in 2 separate households, now it's 1 stove cooking just a bigger pot of whatever. These are things to think about, guys. You know, it's going to get to a situation in Europe, probably this winter, in the United States and Canada, potentially next winter, where starting to pool resources is going to be the means of survival. I just want you to think about that. But if you've got the ability, Christmas present idea number 3 for the day, some sort of generator, okay? Other than that, I will tell everybody, I hope you polish up on your trivia. We'll see you tonight on the live stream. Have a good one. Pinball out.